So please confirm you can see my screen. Okay, so
Yes.
I had very limited time to prepare for this, so I just quickly made a vanilla slide just to guide my thoughts. Yeah, getting started with AI, building with AI. So let's start with so it's going to be interactive. I hope audience are able to unmute themselves. Yeah, so I said it's going to be interactive because at some point I might need people to like unmute and talk, or the emoji gestures are also enough for me, and then the comments can also work. Artificial intelligence has been like one of the raving things in town, and it is not just about I, it's actually functional. So it is not just futuristic, it is not just sci-fi, it is actually functional, and a lot of people have been using it to build a lot of amazing things. And that is why it's a privilege, like I said earlier, to like join you guys on this session of building with AI. Yeah, so artificial intelligence, as it seems, is like a modeling of human thinking, human processes, and human functionalities. But not all human functionality is it capable of, but some actually. Let me just proceed. Yeah, so today I'll be introducing us to Gemini CLI. So the common artificial intelligence that we have around us is generative artificial intelligence, which is also known as generative AI. We also have some other type of artificial intelligence, some we can find in robotics, but the one that is taking wave right now is the generative AI, and generative in the sense that it can create new things, especially text. So in the content of text, we mean it uses large language models. It's trained on billions of text parameters and all of that. And it's because it has been trained on billions of that, it's able to produce new things, it's able to generate new ones. And part of what it has been trained on is like writing codes, writing content, audios and videos. Multimodal models they actually do audios and video, images. So because they do most of the media intakes and outputs, so they are able to like do a lot of amazing things. Common big tech companies in the AI space, we all know OpenAI. They came up with ChatGPT. Then we have Anthropic too. Anthropic came up with Claude. Claude has also been amazing. Then once Google does something, other big tech must follow. So we have Meta also follow with their Meta AI, which you can see on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and it has a Meta AI app on itself. So these things are example of the generative AI application. You can use them to generate text, you can use them to generate audios, content. Not all of them can generate audios and content, but now we have some big models that does audios and video. And in the last concluded Google I/O, we have seen a lot of amazing products like the Veo 3 generating videos just by prompts. Before, you need to couple a lot of models together, a lot of agents together to generate a video. But now, Veo 3 has helped us solve that problem, which now introduced me to MCPs. I'm still trying to introduce Gemini command line interface, which is Gemini CLI, which now introduced me to MCPs. So once people realize that AIs are good, AIs are functional, then they started niching them down, because I mean, when you are specific, you do better when you are specific. So you cannot expect one model that understand billions of things to also do billions of things, that sometimes they get confused. So they started specifying niches for all these models. So some of them are towards generating content, some of them are for audio, some of them are for images, some of them are for code capability, some of them can actually interpret code, some of them are assistants, voice assistants, just basically voice assistants. Yeah. So we have several of all of those. Now became a major problem in the industry on how can these things communicate with each other. When we release a better version of a previous model, how can we make sure that products that have used the old model don't break when they try to use the new model? So I'll quickly give an example of that. OpenAI started with OpenAI. They made their first free version was GPT 3.5. As people continue to interact with the model, they started getting more data, which they used to train their model again and again. Basically, they wanted continuity as new version of models or new version of AIs are being launched. They don't want breaking of apps and all of that. So they needed a protocol, which is like a rule book for all models. So this rule book is called MCP, Model Context. Yeah, MCP basically helps to like guide how models communicate with each other. So with the help of MCP, if I have a model that does forecasting and I have a model that does generating content, I can actually plug the two together such that when the one that does forecasting is done forecasting, the one that generates can now use the result of what it has forecasted to generate a very fine article, plug them together. MCP can also help me to like, okay, search the internet. There is an AI that search the internet, get content from the internet. Then there's another model that fine tunes the result of the search. Maybe I am a brand, so there's another agent that I've trained on my brand style and my brand guideline. So the model can actually now take all the content that has been generated and present it in my own brand guideline. So models are able to talk to each other. That's basically the concept of MCP. Now, coding agents, which are like our AI code assistants. So Gemini CLI is actually a powerful coding assistant or a coding agent. We can use it in our CLI. CLI means command line interface, where we type computer commands. So basically for coding and basically for coding and for programmers. So it's an AI agent in the terminal. So one of the amazing thing about Google is that they have they have premiums here and they have enough of open source. So the Google CLI, Gemini CLI is one of the open source tools out there, and you can use it directly in your IDE in your development environment. You can use it there and it's quite functional. Like it's very, very good. Very, very good. So it's leverage on the model context protocol to do several tasks. It can understand your files, it can understand your Git repository, it can understand the language that you are writing, and it does several things which we are getting into in a very short time. So it does several things. So because it is built with several models that understand each other, there is one that does retrieval, there is one that does code interpretation, there's one that does code understanding, there's one that even like read your code and try to that does like, large reasoning that try to understand okay what are you trying to build, and basically all these things put together just make the agent very, very smart. Very, very smart. If you give it a simple prompt, it can develop an entire product for you. If you are trying to fix a bug, it can read through your codes, look at how they are connected together, which one is causing the bug, and then suggest how to fix it. So it's leverage on the React loop, reason and act. So if you are quite a reader, you can look up this Google paper on reason and act. So before LLMs or generative models are basically developed on probability. What word comes after the next? But then Google came up with a research that says reason and act. So you reason before you actually predict the next word. And it's the MCP now leverage on the reason and act, which makes it very robust and very different from all other coding agents that we have out there. So what can we do with Gemini CLI? Yeah, it's actually excelled at coding and it also does some other minor tasks. So one of the functionality is fix bug. You can if you have like a Git repository that you don't understand. Actually, this is like my best use of AI agents in my IDE environment. Let's say I'm trying to study a project I don't understand, or let's say this language is I'm not quite familiar with this language. I can actually just clone the repo, set up my coding agents or my AI agents, and once I'm done with that, my because I have the files, my AI agent already have access to the files. They can understand it. Then I start asking questions about what repo I have just cloned. If I'm trying to like run, or if I'm trying to like set up that repo, I'm running into bugs, I'm running into issues. I know that my AI assistant can also help me like figure out, okay, this is what is missing. Okay, you need to configure this file before you are able to run this. It's because it actually understand all of the files that are in there, and you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about privacy, because Gemini CLI is 100% local. That's if you want to install it locally. It actually has a package manager where you just do npm install and it download the SDK completely into your computer. So it's not like you are connected to the internet or anything, or you need like one API key to connect to anything. You just download the entire SDK to your computer, and if your computer is powerful enough to run it, you are good to go. So, like I said, create new features too. Let's say, for example, there's a news that currently just flushed out. I think 2 weeks ago or last week, that some developer just vibe coded Lovable out in under like, I think, 2 days. Where Lovable AI is an AI assistant that help you build products end to end. Now imagine somebody vibe coding a vibe coder. So that's like kind of big. So what I'm trying to say is you can actually create new features. Let's take Claude for example. Should we use Claude? Let's use Cursor for example. Cursor is a smart ID and AI ID. I know a lot of people know about Cursor because it is actually taking over. Cursor is taking
Mm.
over, but it's a smart ID. What Cursor basically did was VS Code originally is an open source project. So they just cloned VS Code, meaning there is a product already, they cloned it. So they have access to it because it is open source. Then they built new features on top of it. Now, the new feature that they have built on top of it is basically wrapping the entire thing around LLM and agents. So they just exposed all the uh, all the files, all the variables to LLM such that it's able to understand, okay, this is the file that is coming, debug, ask, agent, and all of that. Then they set up another component to manage API keys and all of that. So they just built a feature over it. And because they built a feature over it, they have a product, a new product. Now, Cursor AI is worth, I think, tens of thousands in dollars, if not more than that. So basically, you can just get the product, build new feature on it, and Gemini CLI can help you do that as long as you understand the feature that you are trying to build. So most of the times when we write our code, we only test the parts, some parts, not all the parts. We test some part of the functions that are really maybe important to us, and then we are good to go. We ship it to a QA tester. It is the QA tester that now start testing the entire thing, and sometimes they even overlook some of the important features to test. But with this AI capability, AI assistant, they can actually test every single feature that we have on our code base. Every single thing, to the one that is generating full stop, to the one that is reading time, to the one that is prompting another function. They can test every single thing and make sure it works without overlooking anything, because human intelligence basically just prioritize what is important. So some of the other daily utility things that this Gemini CLI is capable of is generating content, doing research, task management, and there are more to that. There are more. I just listed a few. So let's quickly look at how to integrate this and how to start using it. So Gemini CLI as it is, if you know Git Bash, Git Bash is a CLI. It's a command line interface. So you can just do npm install Google Gemini CLI, and it will install for you, so you can actually run that as an IDE. I mean, as a CLI. But you can also use it within your IDE. So it means if you are using VS Code, IntelliJ, Cursor, which other IDE is there? So if you are using like an ID already. You can just install it as an extension instead of running it as a CLI on its own. So what I mean by that is, so you can just go to the extension panel in your VS Code, which is what we are going to be doing together. Then just install Google Code Assistant, sign up to your Google account. It automatically creates a project for you, and you are good to go. Start AI in, or start building with AI basically. So I've mentioned that it relies on model context protocol. So there are some commands that you do basically look at. Let's just take some of these and put it at the back of our head. You can check memory, you can check stats, you can check tools, you can check MCP. So another other functionalities that it has, other capability that it has, it can do web search. Not all AI agents can do web search. Gemini can do web search. Then it has built-in tools like grep, these are what makes it understand your code base. It can grep, it can put code in your terminal. Again, not all AI agents can put code in your terminal. Some are not even advisable to put code in your terminal because they are not authenticated enough. Terminal is a very versatile area when you are working. But because Gemini CLI itself is a command line interface, it can put code in your terminal, it can read your files and it can write over your files. So how do we get started? Basically, we okay, yeah, I said let's use the documentation as our guide. Please confirm you can see my screen now.
Yeah, we
Thank you
can see
very
your
much.
screen.
Okay, so this is the repository for Gemini CLI. So we can see that it is open source. And because it is open source and people have access to the code, they can actually build more extension on top of it. So right now you can see the number of contributors. So people basically just clone, build more extension, they push it back. If Google finds it amazing, they make it public to everybody to use. So if you have time or you like exploring repository like myself, you can just come to this repository, you can read through it, look at what it does. This is how to get the CLI on your computer, and then when you want to run it, just run Gemini. It pops up. That is if you are not using an IDE. If you want to use IDE, remember you need to get like an API key. So basically, you can get an API key for free. There are free tiers of Gemini API key. Yeah, we also we get with the free API, you get the 100 requests per day. With the pro version, if you use the pro version, if you use it up, you can actually just go to a lower version and it will still work. But this pro is like the latest and the smartest. So yeah, Google AI Studio is actually a good one to you can actually get your API key from the AI Studio too. Yeah, please confirm you can see my screen. Like, yeah, this is where we need to find ourselves. Gemini Code Assist. So the CLI is for installing on your computer, but we want to use for VS Code. It's basically still the same thing. So what we need to do is using VS Code. So we are going to search Gemini Code Assist. So you can just come to your VS Code, search for Gemini Code Assist. So basically you click on it. So this is what it looks like. So here you can install. Once you install it, you ask for some permission, trust publisher and install. As you can see, the first time I'm installing it on this my computer. Okay, this is done. So let's just go back to our project. Yeah, I think I have no. So I need to set up like a project. Can we have something like main.py? Yeah. So we've opened main.py. Okay, let me see if I need to sign in because I'm supposed to get a prompt to sign in basically. Okay, yeah, this is a sign in. So I need to open and I need to sign in because it does not know which account to use at the moment. So I'll just sign in. Yep, so Let's go back to VS Code and see what the update is. Yeah, so it has been activated. You can see that it's activated. So automatic code completion status is on, enable or disable. So we don't want to disable that. So let's just say write a maker store web page in Next.js. So if you have specific, like if you have experience with writing code and you have specific methods, specific features, things that you want to use in your application, you can actually specify it. So I'm trying to say it should write me a sneaker store web page in Next.js. I kind of have good understanding with Next.js. So I can specify some other things that I want to make it. Let's just say using, because it will just write the vanilla stuff for me. So chatting UI component of UI style. Let's just see what you can do. So it's giving me step by step. So it's advising me to have images, and here I can just basically accept all changes. So let's see what that does when we accept all changes. So let's close this guy too. So on accepting changes, uh, it's creating the files for me, basically, just creating the files for me. So it has this sneaker export. So I'll just save this. Yeah, let's save it here. This is not a good name. So let's just read through, because I did not create the files basically. So let's click this run in terminal and see if it will insert the code there. You can see just insert the code in the terminal. So we can just click enter, and this will create the app for us. So basically, let's say no, let's say yes. So we don't want it to go back, no. So this is just setting up a React, I mean a Next.js project, still React. So yeah, we can basically say that uh, let's allow it to install everything it needs. Yeah, like I said, we can start asking questions just to save up time.
Okay, I have a question. Um,
Yeah, please go ahead.
all right. So you okay? So I just wanted to ask, like, what would you tell as the difference between Gemini 2.5 Pro and ChatGPT 4, and which would you prefer and why?
Yeah, okay. So ChatGPT 4 and 2.5 Pro. So there are basically papers that have compared these models together. Based on those papers, we are made to know that 2.5 Pro is actually like the best model before Grok. Yeah, it's after Google announced that 2.5 Pro beats all the existing models. Then Elon Musk Grok then came out to say, okay, our model now beat all of you too. So we are kind of in the cycle of all these big guys always training their model to beat the next big model. But like I said, these things have different. They have what they are most specialized to do. So it's based on your personal experience. You can now say this works for me and this does best for me. For example, for me, if I'm writing code, I like I like Gemini 2.5 to do code for me. Like if I want to write from scratch, I like 2.5 to do for me. Or if I need continuity in my thinking, let's say I've started writing this thing and I need continuity. I know that OpenAI does not do very well when it comes to the continuity thing, but Gemini does very well in continuity. Say you have written this feature for like 1 month ago, and you saved it because Gemini obviously require you to save it, and you have saved your all your interaction, your chat. Then you come back after 1 month and you want to like maybe remove something out of that feature or add something out of that feature, which most likely you find very helpful. Because after you are done with your development, someone somewhere needs to test it, your QA, they have comments, and you want to come back to that code because you vibe code basically. So you want to continue the interaction and say, okay, this and that. OpenAI would most likely want to start from scratch, but Gemini can still pick some sense of continuity. But when I want to debug, I prefer Claude. That is Anthropic Claude. I prefer Claude to debug. It kind of have understanding of the different methods that work, why your library is not working, and all of that. And some models just do well with React, some do well with Python, some do well with C++, and like that. So just have one that like kind of fits your niche. But I'm confident of 2.5. Flash, Gemini Flash does well, but 2.5 does better than Flash. Then GPT-4 is very okay too, like very okay. It's, I mean, one of the best tools out there, but it's premium. You have to pay for it.
All right, thank you very much. But before we continue, I would like to make an announcement. So, we had a sort of issue when creating the Meet link, and this is about to get expired. So, I've dropped an updated link on the chat section, the last one there. So, I would advise us to, join
I think
with that link.
uh, this is it. This I'm facing is actually a little bit of network challenge because normally starting a project is not supposed to take this long. I also like have another engagement for 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
I can just make whatever I have created public on my GitHub repo and share with you so that people can access later. So if I do any other thing apart from what we have shared in this call, I'll make sure I add it to the repository. So the project is created. I'm installing ChatCN. ChatCN is just a UI library to make it look very nice. So we can take questions.